What is going on, people of YouTube? My name is Kurtyoy and welcome back to a brand new video and a brand new FPLT, Kurtyoy's Fantasy Premier League Tips, where we discuss everything to do with the upcoming game week, including your differentials, your captains, and just overall the preview of the entire game week, all 10 games. But as well as that, we need to look back at last week. We need to review last week, see what scores were like, what big games and turning points there were in this entirety of game week 2, in which there have been a lot of thrills, spills and no bellyaches because we still aren't Sean Ryder. But it's been a fantastic first 2 game weeks, and we're kicking the season off in style with some upsets again in game week 2. But before we get on to that, if you don't want to keep up to date with all the stuff I produce, then make sure you subscribe to this YouTube channel, so basically you know when I upload and it turns up in your subscription box, which is a nice little feature, and I suggest you use it if you want to keep up to date with all the content I produce. I think I've said that a bit too much. And also to like and comment though, to make sure I know what you guys like and don't like. Without further ado, let's have a look at some of the results from this past week, and there are some stinkers. Starting off the game week, we had a 4-0 at Swansea, surprisingly. Manchester United were the ones scoring the 4 goals. Bournemouth got beaten 2-0 at home in quite a surprise result in my eyes, and Watford seems to be looking good at the start of the season. Marco Silva may be changing the fortunes of a club that are deemed to be looking at the drop start of this season. Burnley were beaten at home. In a weird turn of events, they've won away and they've been beaten at home in their first 2 games. Who would have seen that coming? West Brom with another 1-0 win to maintain their 100% record. You also got Leicester winning 2-0 at Brighton. You got 1 goal, that's it, just 1 goal for Liverpool and a clean sheet. That one's a bit iffy. We've also got Southampton just about scraping past the West Ham team with 2 penalties and 1 really late on, which Charlie Austin put into the net sweetly. Stoke in the late kickoff beat Arsenal 1-0, and Wenger out protests are already starting. We've also got Huddersfield on one of the Sunday games winning 1-0 at other promoted side Newcastle. We've got Spurs being beaten at home for the first time since the season before last. Of course it's Wembley and everyone's going to make a big deal out of it. They were beaten 2-1 by Chelsea, or should I say Marcus Alonso with 2 goals, one of which you can't help but think that Reece was to blame for. And also you got Man City versus Everton in Monday Night Football. That was 1-1. Both teams reduced to 10 men. Both teams should have had 11 for the entirety of the match. But we do start off in Wales for Swansea versus Manchester United, and a game which looks very scary for any teams coming up against Manchester United this season. And unfortunately for every team apart from Manchester United this season, that's everyone, because I've at least got to play them once. I mean, apart from Swansea of course and West Ham, everyone also got to play them twice, so I fear for the rest of the teams, because Man United look really solid. I think Matic is a great addition, and so Lukaku is a driving force up front, and they are proving hard to beat. Very structured, very well organised, and going forward they look good. Granted, they only got 1 goal in about 75 minutes, but going on later in games, Man United look even deadlier than the start of the games, and that is because of the introduction of Anthony Marcial. Now, it's interesting to see where Jose Mourinho plays this, because it's fair to say he's fallen out of favour quite a bit, Anthony Marcial, under Jose Mourinho. First season he was here, he was the top scorer. Now he seems to be a substitute appearer. But looking at it, to me, he's a fantastic impact player for the first 2 games. He's played 25 minutes of Premier League football, has 2 goals and 1 assist. That is impact. And when he comes on, things happen. He came on and 3 more goals were put in. He grabbed another goal. He got a goal and assist in the previous game against West Ham. That's terrifying to know that they've got potential just to be, you know what, let's up the gear. But it's also depending on what happens now, because you've got, Lukaku with a behind them. You've got Mata, you have Rashford, and you have Mkhitaryan. Now, Marcial is obviously in good form, and he's going to be showing Jose Mourinho, this is why I deserve to be starting. But whether he does start is interesting to see. He is also a decent price, Anthony Marcial, and it's worth considering. If he does start starting and carries on this form, Man United will look deadly. And Anthony Marcial looks a really good price. Even off the bench, he's proving now he could be worth the money, although maybe a bit of a risk. Another shock to the system was Stoke beating Arsenal 1-0. Now, this is obviously going to be blown out of proportion in so many ways. But to me it is a nerve-wracking point for Arsenal. They are weakened, but they're not too badly weakened. Granted, they are playing 2 left backs as centre backs, but they need to fight through it. They sold Gabriel, so it obviously can't be that problem, that big of a problem. But looking at it, I don't think things need to change. I think it's just a bit of a blip. Stoke on the day were good. Jesse came in with a great impact, but I feel like Arsenal, maybe the coverage of Arsenal in your players, maybe the Ozil, the Sanchez, the Lacazettes, maybe hide off it for a bit, because I don't think Lacazette touched the ball much at all in that game. And Arsenal coverage at the moment, while the 4-3 was very good for it, Xhaka seems to be maybe a panic buy now, but he's still, looking at it, he's still on a few of the set plays from the last game week. He's still only 5.6 million, so he could still be worth the money bringing in. If let's say you got 6.5 million Tadic, you could cheapen it up and get an extra 0.9 to spend elsewhere. But for me, Arsenal, it's a little bit of a blip. Nothing to be dreadfully worried about. But your FPL coverage, maybe limit those Arsenal players. And of course, I've also got to talk about Spurs versus Chelsea, a game which saw so many people saying Kane, captain, can't go wrong. Unfortunately, wasn't the case, as Kane managed to continue his August duct again. But I'm not going to go too much into Kane, because he could or could not be the subject of the Don't Panic this week. I'm going to instead talk about Chelsea, which they won't give him much chances at all in this game week. You see, it's a patchy defence. They've not got much going forward. Chelsea could be really in trouble here. But we are missing the fact that this is, a very good Chelsea side. And yes, they're missing attackers and Gary Cahill at the back, but they have managed to play 6 defenders. You've got Moses on one side, Alonso on the other. You've got a back 3 of Rudiger, Azpilicueta and Christensen, with David Luiz playing in midfield, and then 2 holding midfielders in front of them. You effectively had a blockade, an accidental parking of the bus, because they had no other players fit. Pedro was coming off the bench, but he wasn't 100% fit for 90 minutes. You're looking at Morata, maybe not even fit for 100% for 90 minutes. So Chelsea were forced into a very defensive lineup. They might have played that anyway, but it worked into their favour. Spurs weren't allowed space. The middle 3 blocked out people like Dele Alli and Eriksen from getting on the ball much, and they defended really well. And going forward, Marcos Alonso proved how deadly he could be. Now, granted, if Lloris would have saved the second goal, which he should have, he would have only had 1 goal. If Chelsea wouldn't have fouled Chelsea wouldn't have fouled David Luiz, they would have had 0 Marcos Alonso goals. But that free kick couldn't be placed any better. The wall did their job, the keeper did their job. It was just too good. It was a fantastic run and fantastic tackle from David Luiz. Great run from Marcos Alonso, proving why he is £7 million. Grabbed himself 16 points and into the dream team as his top scorer, which makes it the first 2 game weeks, Higazi and David, and you're looking at Marcos Alonso, the top scorers. Which is insane in my eyes, absolutely insane. But it is dreadfully worrying, because I think Chelsea going forward, they had chances, but not too many. For Spurs, however, it's nothing to be worried about, and that's exactly why I didn't blow out of proportion the Chelsea loss against Burnley last game week, because they were down to 9 men at points, they were down to 10 men and exceeded all their goals. Chelsea now all of a sudden, are looking much better, and I feel like definitely still on course to win the league, like my prediction said. Spurs, again, nothing to worry about. It's a loss against the former winners, so there is nothing to be ashamed about in that. I just need to put it behind them, move forward, improve from that, work out how to beat a very defensive side, and go forward. FPL-wise, Eriksen doing the business. It was my captain, the highest point scorer in my team. Marcos Alonso, if you haven't got him, potentially looking at getting him. Let's have a look at some of the point scorers, the highest point scorers from each position. We'll go through them and then give you a bit of a more detailed run through on some of the ones that caught my eye. Starting off, we've got Jack Bolton on 11 points for goalkeepers, Hennessey on 9, Lossell on 8 and Gomez on 7. Now, Butland scoring 11 points. Very good performance against Arsenal. You're looking at the fact he's picked up 3 bonus points despite Jesse getting the winning goal. He made 6 saves, which is a very good total indeed, and leads up onto 11 points. Now, would I bring him in? Interesting, interesting. No, I wouldn't delay that. He's £5 million. Stoke still look worrying for me, although it was a good performance, and again shut out in a very defensive way. I wouldn't risk it just now. There are better options, maybe even Hennessey at 0.5 lower, who with 9 points didn't even get a clean sheet. He got himself 3 bonus points and made a massive amount of saves, but no bonus points. He, with Lossell and Gomez underneath him, does that represent 3 really different options? Because Watford again, looks much better than they did last season. So could he be worth bringing in for those home games? And also more clean sheets than usual for Gomez. You also got Lossell, 2 clean sheets for Huddersfield, and maybe even more coming up looking at their fixtures. So Lossell could be one to bring in with 8 points. But interesting like goalkeepers, and interesting goalkeepers who got the scores this game week. Following on from that, we've got the defenders, where Alonso picks up 16 and the biggest scorer this game week. Maguire and Bailey on 15. You've got Schindler on 9, Robertson on 9, and Neom on 9. Of course, we have to start off with Marcus Alonso. The bloke has scored 16 flipping points. My goodness. Maguire as well on 15 and Bailey on 15. 3 very different options. Alonso probably, if he has another good game week, look at a must-have, but he's shown he can be on set plays. Granted, there is no Hazard, there's no Fabregas. Willian departed from it, because on the left foot side, I believe. David Luiz is also on there, so there's different, free kick takers for different situations. But Alonso showed what he can do, and I feel like it could be a sign of things to come. You also got Maguire on 15, second game week in a row. He's had attacking returns. Maybe a sign for things to come for FPL managers. We've got Bailey on 15, what I predicted in my preview, although I did predict Walker, so ignore that one, is -2. Bailey, however, on 15 is a great person to bring in. For me, he's yes, he's got 20 points in total, 15 which from this game week. He won't score every week, but he's the most, he's the defender that's going to stay in the team the most, and at just 6.1 million, could be worth bringing in. You also got Schindler, Robertson and Neom, 3 defenders getting 9 points. Schindler again showing he's high up in the bonus point rankings for Huddersfield, this time picking up 3, despite the fact Aaron Moy scored the winner. Robertson coming into the team got 9, but again with Milner Moreno, it's risky to bring him in. And Neom is one to bring in, but maybe I would maybe look at Hegazi, but how long's he going to be in the team for? He's producing good performances, so he could stay in for a little bit while, even if the Evans and Macaulay stay fit, and of course stay at the club, with Evans subject to a bid from Manchester City. Moving on to midfield, we have Paul Pogba on 15, Mahrez and Richarlison, I believe you say, at 11, Moy, Mkhitaryan and Jesse on 10. Starting off with Paul Pogba on 15. The man was insane, and you should be bringing him in. Overnight on Tuesday, early Tuesday morning, Mkhitaryan went up, but Pogba didn't. So all of a sudden now, people will be flocking to Pogba, and he's not going to be uploaded. He's not going to be, by the time they should be uploaded on Tuesday, he still hasn't gone up. He shouldn't go up until late that night. So if you are looking to see who to bring in, I'd say definitely Pogba. He's due to go up at least 1 before the start of the game week. And of course, I think Leicester at home could be worth bringing him in for. Mahrez as well on 11. Really good performance from him, but Leicester's fixtures look tough. I'd maybe go away from him for that. Richarlison with another good attacking returns. Started this one really well. And would he be worth bringing in? Who knows? Watford still a bit of unknowns about them, but they look a lot better than last season, so could be worth taking a risk on at just £6 million. Moy though is at 5.5 and picked up 10 points. No attacking returns from him. Could he be worth the risk in your team? You also got Mkhitaryan on 10. He's now 8.2, so a little less, I'd say, than Pogba. With Jesse also on 10, he's played 1 game, scored 1 goal. I'd hold off until we see more of him, because it could be a little bit of a flash in the pan. And lastly, we've got the 5 strikers. We've got Chicharito on 13. We've got Wayne Rooney's 200th goal, putting him on 8. Okazaki, Austin and Gabbiadini grabbing 7 points. Chicharito though, 2 poachers goals from an absolute beast of a poacher. Shows you why he is fantastic at what he does. Always Premier League goals, been inside the box, which may be saying, oh yeah, well, it could be shoot from out wide, where's his variety? He doesn't need variety. He knows where the goals are. He knows how to get them. He knows where he needs to be positioned to get in the right, to get in the right place for the goal. And that for me is why Chicharito is so deadly. At £7 million, bit of a bargain. Not lie, bit of a bargain. We also got Rooney on 8.5 and 7.5, sorry, and 8 points he is one that is catching my eyes. 2 goals in 2 game weeks now. He loves scoring against the big teams, so it could be worth bringing in, even though Everton have tough fixtures for the next 3. Oh, Agero scored 7. I would worry about him. 5.4. He's not worth worrying about too much. I think he'll be very much gone soon. We've also got Austin on 7 and Gabbiadini on 7 now. 2 Southampton strikers. I both didn't start up top together, but could be a case of Austin coming back to full fitness and replacing Gabbiadini. But Gabbiadini scored from open play. Austin scored a penalty. It's worth remembering that. Gabbiadini though looks good. Second time he's hit the post. He's hit the post in 2 games now. He's also scored in 1, so it looks good for Gabbiadini. I would hold off on him signing him out just yet. I think he could do well still. But let's take a more in-depth look at some of the players that caught my eye and scored big this game week, starting off with the man, Wayne Hennessey. Wayne Hennessey comes in at £4.5 million at the time of the recording, with 9 points picked up from this game week and owned by just 1.6% of people. Now, he didn't even get a clean sheet this game week. Conceded 1 goal against Liverpool with 12 saves, picking up 3 bonus points, lands him with a massive 9 points, considering without the clean sheet, it's a pretty impressive points total. We also have Alonso from Chelsea in the defence. He racked up a very solid 16 points at £7 million. Showed his attacking returns as well with 2 goals this game week, picking up 3 bonus points in Chelsea's 2-1 win at Wembley. Owned by just over 14% of people though, could be a little bit differential and due for a little bit of a rise after his massive points haul. Next up we've got Paul Pogba of Manchester United. The flamboyant midfielder is owned by just under 30% of people, picked up 15 points this game week with 1 goal and 2 assists to his name on FPL. He is definitely making a big name and a big statement this game week and this season in general. He also picks up the clean sheet points again as another 4-0 win, picks up another clean sheet. Pogba most certainly is one to watch. Following on, we have a very different prospect in midfield, £2.1 million less than Pogba. It's Richarlison of Watford. Picks up 11 points this game week with a very important goal in their 2-0 win. 3 bonus points as well with a clean sheet, 0.2. He's one to keep your eye on. Injuries have forced him into being played, and I feel like he could stay that way if he carries on the way he's playing. Huddersfield's Aaron Moy is up next with 10 points scored, another week, another set of attacking returns and 2 bonus points with a clean sheet point added onto that for the Australian. Now Huddersfield have got a few easy fixtures after that, but then it gets a bit tougher. So for Aaron Moy, get him in while he's hot, then transfer him out once he's risen if he continues his attacking returns. We also have more Man United coverage with Mkhitaryan coming in at just 0.1 more than Pogba at 8.2. He scored 10 points this game week, 2 assists and known by just over 15% of people. Makes him a very tidy prospect, and if you don't get Pogba in by the time he rises, Mkhitaryan will probably be my favourite. And lastly, we've got the little P Chicharito. West Ham's forward value now at 7.1, has scored 13 points this game week despite being on the losing side of a fixture. Owned by just over 24% of people. He has 2 goals to his name in 2 games and didn't score in the first game week. Great attacking positioning, great attacking play, great finishing, and I think Chicharito is definitely one to be keeping your eye on for these next few game weeks. Time for another instalment of Don't Panic, a part where I look at who scored and think, who do you not need to panic about this coming game week if you own him? Now 1, he's owned by over 30% of people as of recording this video, and 2, he's basically a gale force wins, or he's not, because that's Dwight Gale, but he is a hurricane, and that's Harry Kane. Brought that in because I just saw Gale and Kane come up against each other, so I thought 2 other puns. Anyway, that's game week 1, not game week 2. Harry Kane, 2 goals, 2 games in August, 0 goals, 1 point in each of the games, brings him on to 2 points. Vincent Janssen has played 1 Premier League minute so far and has picked up half of Harry Kane's points total, which is, interesting. But Harry Kane is not one you need to be panicking about, especially when you look at Burnley at home next. And even then after that, August is over. It's a time where he starts scoring again. But seriously, there's nothing to worry about. In the last 2 games, he's 14 shots with only 3 of them being outside the area. That's 11 shots inside the box. Hit the post twice, put the ball in when he was offside. Just in the Newcastle game, he is genuinely one you no longer need to worry about. He's looked good. He's averaged a 7.0 or above in the who scored ratings in both of the games, which is for a striker that's not scored and not assisted and not really done anything but shoot, is not a bad rating indeed. So Harry Kane, if you've got him in, don't worry about him. If you haven't got him, wait, because people that are worrying about him will transfer him out, and I'm predicting he should drop by the start of next game week. So if you do wait for that, could be worth getting him in at 12.4 and seeing him rise. Only 0.1, but could help in the grand scheme of things. But let's take a look at the upcoming game week. We've got Bournemouth versus Man City, Crystal Palace versus Swansea, Huddersfield versus Southampton, Newcastle versus West Ham. We've got Watford versus Brighton, Man United versus Leicester, Chelsea versus Everton kicking off the Sunday games, West Brom versus Stoke, Liverpool versus Arsenal, and Spurs facing off against Burnley in the other one of the 4 o'clock kickoffs on Sunday. Liverpool versus Arsenal being the other one. Some interesting games in there. I am seeing a lot of goals in some of the fixtures, but small amount of goals in others. I'm going for 3-0 for Man City. I feel like there'll be too much to go past a very worrying Bournemouth side at the moment, who don't look too good. Swansea, I feel like, could run out 1-0 winners at Palace. It's an interesting assumption, but I feel like Swansea have made strides forward, and they've lacked the attacking momentum. Don't look like scoring, but that can easily change. I feel like they could nick a 1-0 in a very tight affair. Huddersfield versus Southampton, though, I'm predicting a 1-0. It could be a Southampton clean sheet, but I feel like Huddersfield's momentum could take them and take them on to another point. Maybe not 100% record, but keeping that unbeaten record going for as long as they can. Newcastle will fall to another goalless defeat, near end possibly, with a 2-0 defeat against West Ham. I feel like West Ham will have too much. Chicharito will be too much to handle, and a player like that against Newcastle, given one chance in the box, he'll take it, and that's something that Newcastle can't afford to give. Unfortunately, are letting strikers in on them. Watford versus Brighton, I can see that being a 1-1 draw. Watford have made very good strides forward, but I think Brighton could finally get their goals tally started in the Premier League, and could be one to definitely look out for. Man United versus Leicester, I see that being a 2-1. It could be quite tight, I feel. Leicester can hurt them on the counter if they play like they did when they won the Premier League. You've got Vardy, Okazaki, Mahrez or Bryson. They can really work well together, and they've got pace as well with Vardy. So it could be worth keeping your eye out. I don't think Man United have that one home and hosed, although they could also win 4-0. This is Manchester United. Chelsea vs Everton, I see that being a 2-1. Chelsea showed they can hold out against the bigger teams, so did Everton. So I feel like it could be a very cagey and defensive affair, with Chelsea nicking a few goals. Maybe from Marcus Alonso again, who knows. West Brom vs Stoke, 1-0. Need I say more? West Brom. Let's move on. Liverpool vs Arsenal, I see that being a 2-2 draw. Both teams like to score. Well, you'd think that, but after last game week, there's 1 goal between them in 180 minutes, so yeah, you'd think differently. And Spurs versus Burnley, I see it being a 3-0 win. Burnley, they'll try their hardest, but I think Spurs at home, looking to get rid of those demons, and they will do in style. I'm going to start off proceedings though talking about the goalkeepers. We've got Lloris, Foster, Elliott and Lossell. Interesting, put Huddersfield in there. Lloris starts off at 5.5, home against Burnley, should be a really easy clean sheet, and I feel like they'll go and grab it. Again, I've said it before, although the mistake last game week cost his team a very, very well earned point, I think Lloris is still one of the better £5.5 million options out there. We've also got Foster at 4.5 for West Brom. 2 games, 2 clean sheets. Could be 3 games and 3 clean sheets. And I feel like they could also do that. Looking very sturdy at the back. It's looking like old school Tony Pulis, and it's a good sight to see for our FPL teams. Not football wise, but FPL teams will take it. You also got Elliott coming in, just for the simple fact he's £4 million. He's still playing. He's giving you a cheaper option, and he was also having those transfers in. Could go up soon and get you a decent bit of profit. We also have Lossell from Huddersfield. Now he has got 2 clean sheets. Granted, they've got tougher fixtures coming up over the hill, but they've got that hill to climb first. I feel like it could be a nice smooth ride. And Huddersfield plays Southampton, could be getting those save points. Just proves he's got a good few saves in his locker. Matt Ritchie's shot showing he can get to those really tight saves. And for me, Lossell represents a really good value option. What about those pesky defenders? Well, I've got 6 for you. Starting, I've got Trippier of Tottenham, we've got Dawson of West Brom, we've got Bailey of Man United, we've got Norton of Swansea, we've got Lerver of Huddersfield, and we've got Cedric of Southampton. Starting off with Trippier, simple reasoning behind this. He is 5 £6.4 million now, and Spurs are at home to Burnley. He could get assists, he'll definitely get a clean sheet. What could possibly go wrong? Well, neither of the things I mentioned happening, but he should do, so I'd say he's safe to bring him in. If I do find myself getting a free transfer, I feel like he will be going in for Davis, because I feel like cheaper option. Although Davis is looking good, hopefully he'll rise again before Trippier rises, and I'll be able to bring Trippier in for a little bit cheaper. Dawson comes in at £5 million for West Brom. Any West Brom coverage really is going to be good for this game week, because I feel like I'll get another clean sheet and look sturdy, and Dawson is the one I've picked because I've got a good feeling. I did it with Bailey last week, Dawson this week. Hopefully he'll prove me right. Talking about Bailey, he's next up. We've got £6 million Bailey, £6.1 million Bailey I should say. And he's looking in good nick. Although I did predicted Man United to concede, very well could not do. This is again just my predictions. And Eric Bailey, could be set to rise. He's playing regularly. Those other clean sheets will come in handy in other game weeks though, and he will be set to rise even more. Maybe even end at 6.6, maybe by the end of the season. Carl Norton is also 4.5, represents good value option, and the Swansea's fixtures look really good going forward now. So to get him in could be good on the flank, getting a few assists, a couple of goals maybe if we're lucky. Could be a good value option. You also got Lerver at 4.5, cheap Huddersfield way into the defence, so yeah, it's a nice little cheap option for you for your 4th or 5th defender slot. And then a Cedric, because I can't help but see Southampton options again, and again it could be could be another attacking option, with attacking returns in the defensive slot, which could be ever so vital for your point score. Moving on to midfield, we've got Eriksen, Phillips, Pogba, Redmond, Moy, and Tom Carroll. Starting off with Christian Eriksen, the man is proving why I picked him over Dele Alli last minute. He's got assists in both of the game weeks. In fact, he assisted every single Spurs goal, fun fact for you. And I predict some more against Burnley. Can he keep that continuing? Hopefully. Imagine 3-0, 3 Eriksen assists. What a way to captain him. To be honest, if I don't bring Kane in, which I'm looking like I want to bring Kane in, hopefully if he drops, I'm looking at Eriksen being captain again with this coming game week. Phillips also £6 million. Could be a good option. Granted, he also has the chance of not performing, but I feel like Stoke could concede a few, and Phillips could also be on hand to do that or assist the main goal, which is just that one goal, which is a very small chance, but he could also pull it off. Pogba also at £8.1 million. He's not 8.2 like Mkhitaryan, so whilst he's 8.1, get him in, although by the chance and it's been recorded separately and uploaded separately, or even on FPLT, he's probably already gone up, so yeah, he's probably 8.2 now. Redmond also at 6.5. I think he's a better Southampton attacking option in midfield than Tadic, although I'm sticking with Tadic for now. His penalty points keeps him in my team for another couple of game weeks, I feel. Moy at 5.5 and Carroll at 4.5 are good cheaper options. Carroll could be getting more attacking returns now with easier games coming up for Swansea, and Moy, yeah, he's one of the talisman in the team of Huddersfield, and could be looking at a few more attacking returns in the upcoming game weeks. And then we've got the attackers. We've got 2 big men and 3 interesting ones. Lukaku, Kane, Calvert, Lewin, Gabbiadini and Ayew. Now let me explain all of them. Lukaku, need I say more? Kane is at home to Burnley in August, so it's represents his own risk, but at home to Burnley, so need I say more? Now Dominic Calvert-Lewin has praises from Ronald Koeman and Wayne Rooney after the Man City game, and Everton have scored 2 goals this season. Both of them by Rooney, both of them assisted by Dom Calvert-Lewin. Now that is very, very big news, and the fact that he received praise, could be in the first team a lot now. At £5 million, he could be the one. And look at the game, watch back the highlights. His pace, his strength, his determination, and his physicality really, in general, proved very, very, a handful for Man City's defence. So keep your eyes out on him. He could be worth it at £5 million. Gabbiadini at 7 looked very good in the past 2 game weeks. Looking at the stats, so hopefully that continue and translate onto the pitches. And Gabbiadini can pick up some more attacking returns. And Ayew is playing a lot. He's one of the better teams. I don't think we're looking. He hit the post. Well, kind of against Manchester United. It wasn't really a shot, I don't feel, but he is playing a lot. And playing out wide could be worth it. Just £5 million, maybe worth that cheap option to give you money to midfield or even fund that very expensive Marcus Alonso move. But let's take a closer look, shall I say, at some of the players that I've picked out this upcoming game week, starting off with a sturdy man in between the six for big Tony Pulis' West Brom. Ben Foster of West Brom is valued still at 4.5 and has 2 clean sheets in 2, with Stoke, Brighton, West Ham, Arsenal and Watford coming up, 3 of them being home games. You can only expect the West Brom man to continue his clean sheet record. Up next is Kieran Trippier. He's only valued at £5.4 million, and Spurs, you expect them to have a sturdy defence, owned by just 2.7 as well. It could be a really good option. Burnley, Everton, Swansea, West Ham and Huddersfield are the next 5, and you can see a few clean sheets in there too. Norton is another one you need to consider at 4.5, with his next 5 game weeks being Crystal Palace, Newcastle, Tottenham, Watford and West Ham. Got a really good run, and I feel like Swansea could really hit the ground running, pick up some good clean sheets, maybe even a few taken returns for Norton. £4.5 million is a bargain. Moving on to midfield, we have Christian Eriksen of Tottenham, valued at 9.5 as of recording this video. He's selected by around 20% of people, picked up 19 points in his first 2 game weeks, and with Burnley, Everton, Swansea, West Ham and Huddersfield turning up, I believe Eriksen's point tally could be set to rise and rise and rise. We've got another decently expensive midfielder in Paul Pogba, 8.1 at the time of recording, although let's be honest, he's 8.2 now by the time I've uploaded it. 30% of people own him, 23 points in his first few game weeks. Leicester, Stoke, Everton, Southampton and Palace to come up. Could be even more points coming in for the very interesting Frenchman. On the different side of the price range, we've got Tom Carroll of Swansea, owned by just over 6% of people, only 5 points in his first 2 game weeks, but he's £4.5 million. With Palace, Newcastle, Tottenham, Watford and West Ham coming up, you can see him potentially getting more assists and more goals than you'd think for a £4.5 million midfielder. Only a small £7.1 million up and a grade up is Lukaku, owned by over 56% of people. Scored 19 points his past 2 game weeks. Of course, Leicester, Stoke, Everton, Southampton and Crystal Palace coming up for the big Belgian. I think Lukaku can only score more goals from here on in. The most expensive attacker on the game, Harry Kane, is another one I suggest bringing in. Although he's looking at maybe going down to 12.4 by the start of next game week, if he does go down to 12.4, definitely worth bringing him in. Burnley with next game week, Everton, Swansea, West Ham and Huddersfield after that. Goals could be coming, and plenty of them for Harry Kane. And finally we have Dominic, Calvert, Lewin. The Everton striker is valued at just £5 million and has picked up an assist in each of the last 2 game weeks and assisted every single Everton goal this season, which is 2 to be quite frank. Chelsea, Tottenham, Man United, Bournemouth and Burnley all in his next 5, which could seem a bit tough, but his pace, his physicality and his sheer determination to beat the defenders in the Man City game has proved that he maybe is a bigger handful than we once thought. Okay, time for my team? I think so. This week was another week I was above the average on, but it wasn't as good as it could have been. I was on 50 points going into Monday Night Football, where I thought De Bruyne, Jesus, both could get a goal or assist in the game. I thought Man City would win maybe 2-1, and I could have got 60 points, but he only got 53. Average was 44 this week, leaves me on 117 points for the first 2 game weeks, just under the top of a million, which is not too bad. And it was no one scored a heck of a lot in my team, but it was all really average. You're looking at Gabby and Eriksen on 7, and you've got Tadic, Kachunga, Lukaku and Foster on 6, with Davies, Azpilicueta and De Bruyne getting 2, Cedric and Jesus getting 1. Now leaves me to the point I quite honestly feel like De Bruyne is leaving. De Bruyne could be going down in price, with Pogba going up. That's a 0.2 change. I'd rather get Pogba in, get more Man United coverage than that. I feel like Jesus might stay. Kane could do with coming in. I feel like I can afford him if he does go down in price, that being the only way. But it's looking good. It's looking good. It was another good game week, another one above the average. Next game week is looking positive. As for transfers, I just said De Bruyne is probably going to be coming out for Pogba. Maybe Kane coming in for Jesus, as Spurs have got quite a few decent looking games coming in. But in general, it's a good looking team, good looking side, and I'm not panicking yet. But what about my league though? Well, I've realised looking at the best game week scores is going to be hard, considering how many people are in there. I mean, I'm in 800th, and that's me. there's still got another, potentially, I'm not saying there is, another 3.5 million to come in below me. So there is a lot. I want to do it for the top 100 players. So if you're situated in the top 100 or the first 2 pages of the league, then I'll be able to see your game week score. But the biggest game week score, in fact, we'll do average first. Adam Saylor, is on 179 in total, scored 85 this week, which wasn't the highest, unfortunately. Only 3 off. The highest was a man by the name of Sultan Huru with FC Hurus, who got 88 points and a rather good looking team. He had Foster in goal with Hennessey on the bench as well. Dawson got 7, Simpson with 6. You've got Mahrez with his captain on 22, Pogba scoring 15, Eriksen on 7, Rooney's in his team. You got Chicharito on 13. A really good team, could have been improved by Hennessey. Benteke scoring 1 on the bench, and that's with De Bruyne and Salah blanking. With a Southampton clean sheet, probably could have got it. Probably would have gone, above 100 points in the other game week. So a really good team, and the top of the league is looking really strong. 179 points in Adam Saylor, and 173 in second, with 169 in third and 164 in fourth. So there's a big gap opening up at the top. I am quite a way away, but I hope that I can slowly but surely work my way up, at least get in the top 100. But really good stuff from everyone at the top of the league. Adam FC ruling it in general, but a good score from FC Hurus. And now time for the comment of the week, where I look back through last week's comments and think, what do I fancy putting comment of the week? And this one's got a bit of an external image to add on, which is pretty funny. Jacob Cruz, right, rest in peace for the guy who triple captained Gary Cahill. May well be fake, but it's funny to look at. -9 points. There's the picture for you. Just thought it was funny. So it goes on the board, and if you're wondering where the board is, so am I. Yeah, I haven't lost it. It's just not where I put it. So we'll move on until I find it. Time for some captaincy picks. I've got 5 picks for you, which could say the captain's armband. Starting off with a playmaker from London. Christian Eriksen is the first one of the captains I recommend for this game week, with a £9.5 million price tag, around 20% ownership, 19 points and 3 assists, including 5 bonus points in his first 2 games. Makes him an assister for every single Tottenham goal so far. Burnley at home could be a tricky fixture. They might sit back, they might try and frustrate Tottenham, but Eriksen on set plays could be really good for the Tottenham contingent. The cheapest of the captaincy selections this week is the flamboyant Paul Pogba of Manchester United. Currently costs 8.1, but most notably probably 8.2 as of releasing this video. Has around 30% ownership and scored 23 points in the past 5 game weeks. Looks really good. Had a fantastic game again against Swansea, and I feel like Paul Pogba is definitely one to be looking out for. Next up, we have the lethal finisher from South America, who also plays for Manchester City, is Sergio Agero. Now, he's £11.5 million, selected by just over 10% of people, around 12.4% of us recording this video, and only has 11 points this season with just the 1 goal and 3 bonus points from the 2-0 win against Brighton. Now, granted, Man City didn't have the best of times attacking-wise against Everton, but I feel like Agüero coming into this away against Bournemouth, a team last to concede goals, doesn't look good so far this season. Could be looking to finish off a few, maybe 2+ goals, and I feel like Agüero could be seeing double figures for this game week score. Fourth in our captaincy spot is Romelu Lukaku. The Belgian beast from Manchester United has been picked up by almost 57% of people as of recording this video who played the game, which is insane. The Belgian beast has 3 goals so far, 3 bonus points, 2 clean sheets, even though it doesn't really matter, but 19 points, 3 goals, and Manchester United faced themselves up against Leicester, who they scored 4 goals against last season. So if Lukaku's going to run off that, I feel like he could run through the defence quite nicely. And finally, he is one of their own. It is Harry Kane. Now, it's a big risk to say Harry Kane is a captaincy pick in August, and there's a reason I have gone away from it so far, and it's been proven right. 2 games played, 2 points scored, a yellow card in both the games, and not looking like he's going to score, but 14 shots, hit the post off both games, put a ball into the back of there despite it being offside in the Newcastle game, shows positive signs. He's not just banging the ball from 30 yards. He's barely had a long shot at all. And Tottenham this game week face off against Burnley, and I feel like Kane could be on the target man for the set plays. He's on penalties, could be good on the counter attack. For me, Tottenham definitely one to consider this week for your captaincy armband, and Kane being one of the big players. So what do you think of my captaincy picks? Some are, well, quite obvious, but I've only gone with 3 different teams, so I don't feel like any other team represents really good value that, blares right down in your face. But who are you putting as your captain's armband? Any of the ones I've suggested, or anyone else? Let me know all that in the comment section down below. But finally, we move on to the differentials. This is the last part of the video. I'm going to take a look at 9 different differentials I've picked out this week, starting off with an ex-Arsenal keeper plying his trade in South Wales. Lucas Fabianski is owned by just over 4% of people and has scored 7 points in his past 2 game weeks. His next 5 fixtures are Palace, Newcastle, Tottenham, Watford and West Ham, which shows an improvement in fixtures, and I feel like Swansea improved last season under Paul Clement and could improve again this season, and I feel like he's definitely going to be one to consider for your cheaper option in goal. Sticking with the theme of Swansea players, we're going with Kyle Norton, who's owned by just over 2% of people. As I'm recording this, he's got half the ownership of Fabianski, and of course we know the fixtures for him coming up, and it could be good. Could be a few clean sheets in there, could be a few attacking returns. Now £4.5 million, he's nice for a 4th or 5th defender slot, just to have him in there, just in case he scores big. Kieran Trippier's next one we all should be considering. £5.4 million gets you a 2.7% of ownership. Kieran Trippier. Burnley, Everton, Swansea, West Ham, Huddersfield. Need I say more? Those are 5 games in which Spurs could get 5 clean sheets, and Trippier, when he played 12 games and got 5 assists last season, could be set to start his assist tally again this season. With a few easy fixtures coming up, he'll be licking his lips. Another player from one of the bigger teams is Pedro, who comes in at £7.9 million, owned by under 2% of people. Only scored 3 points so far with an assist, an important assist from Marcus Alonso. He has the next 5 fixtures of Everton, Leicester, Arsenal, Stoke and Man City. Tough fixtures, but Pedro is a man that makes a difference in those fixtures, and he's assisted already once against Spurs. He's below his price where he should be, and owned by just under 2% of people. He could be a massive differential for your teams to give you that vital Chelsea coverage. One to keep your eye on is Matt Phillips from West Brom. He's valued at £6 million, owned by around 2.5% of people, has 9 points in the first 2 game weeks. Stoke, Brighton, West Ham, Arsenal and Watford are his next 5. Stoke, West Ham and Watford being the home games. I feel like it could be really, really good for West Brom. Could be even seeing their 100% start for the next 3 game weeks. Of course, Arsenal is a bit tougher, but maybe even through Arsenal. And Phillips, I feel like he started well, started brightly, and could be looking to continue his attacking returns for a couple of game weeks at least. Another midfielder from a bigger team, and definitely one to say it's definitely a risk, is Anthony Marcial. £8 million gets you the super sub Frenchman, owned by just over 2% of people. 16 points in 25 minutes on the Premier League field, and with Leicester, Stoke, Everton, Southampton and Crystal Palace coming up, I feel like Marcial could be one to chance your arm if you can't afford Pogba and Mkhitaryan because the price rises. Marcial coming off the bench shows good value. Mikel Antonio is the last midfielder I'll tell you to get, and he's owned by just under 0.3% of people, which is insane. £7.5 million, he got 5 points in his first game back, a nice little assist for one of the goals. Newcastle, Huddersfield, West Brom, Tottenham and Swansea coming up for West Ham. Feel like people could be overlooking him a bit, and Mikel Antonio could be really good value. He was really good last season, one of the West Ham's best players, and I feel like it could be again this season. Proved it coming back, and it could be a big season for him. Time for a few risky strikers. We have Jordan Ayew from Swansea. He's owned by just under 2% of people, but he's £5 million, which is a very cheap option for your attack if you want to get those monies for like the De Bruynes and the Hazards if he comes back, the Pogbas, the Eriksens, the Dele Allis in the midfield. He could be one to consider. Now granted, he has no attacking returns, but Palace, Newcastle, Tottenham, Watford and West Ham up in the next 5. Jordan Ayew could be looking at a few attacking returns imminently. And lastly, we have DCL, Dominic Calvert Lewin of Everton. £5 million again, owned by 1% of people, and assisting both the first 2 game weeks. Chelsea, Tottenham, Man United, Bournemouth and Burnley coming up. Granted, they are hard fixtures, but looking at Calvert Lewin, I feel like he's the person that made a difference against Man City with his physicality, his pace, his strength, his determination, and I feel like against Chelsea, Tottenham and Man United, he could do the same. And that happens to be that for this video. I hope you've enjoyed. Remember to like, comment and subscribe, and let me know in the comments section down below, what are you doing for this game week? What do you think of my scores? And overall, how are you doing so far? Have you wildcarded? Because my ending thought, I like to end on an ending thought, and it's something that a lot of people are picking up on Twitter, and it's something that I definitely share the views of. If you haven't looked at your team and thought, I need to change 7 or 8 of those players immediately, you don't need the wildcard. Maybe tempting to see I've got 2 or 3 players I want to change, but that's it. Don't wildcard. Maybe if you've got 2 free transfers, take a -4, risk a -8, or just stick with some of the players you think are going to come good in the upcoming game weeks. There's no point risking and chancing your arm on a wildcard when realistically you don't need to. Thank you for watching. Hope you've enjoyed. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next episode of Kurtyoy's FPLT. Peace.